Good evening and welcome to NTD UK News. I'm Stuart Lees and here are today's top stories. Former top advisor to Prime Minister Boris Johnson says the UK government failed in its handling of the CCP virus pandemic. China has replaced Germany as the UK's biggest importer. And the European Court of Human Rights rules that mass surveillance methods used by GCHQ were not in accordance with the law. The government fell disastrously short in its handling of the CCP virus pandemic, and many people died unnecessarily as a result. That's according to Dominic Cummings, former top advisor to the Prime Minister.
Dominic Cummings served as Boris Johnson's right-hand man in Number 10, but since leaving the government last year, he has been critical of his former boss. Giving evidence to the Commons Health and Science Committees, Cummings criticised the government's response to COVID-19.
When the public needed us most, the government failed.
Cummings said while the Taiwanese government hit the panic button before the new year, the Western world, including Britain, failed to hear the alarm bells until much later. He said the government was not on a war footing even in February, and many senior officials were on ski holidays. Cummings said the Prime Minister even considered having the virus injected into his own body in a public stunt to show it's nothing to be afraid of.
In February, the Prime Minister regarded this as just a scare story. He described it as the new swine flu.
Cummings blamed the alleged government failure partly on the political system he said has prevented competent people from holding senior positions. Cummings was extremely critical of Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, and even suggested he should have been fired. At Prime Minister's questions, Boris Johnson said he did not accept Cummings' accusations that government inaction led to unnecessary deaths.
To go into a lockdown is a traumatic thing for a country. To deal with a pandemic on this scale has been appallingly difficult, and we've at every stage tried to minimise loss of life, to save lives, to protect the NHS, and we have followed the best scientific advice that we can, Mr. Speaker.
The government insists that it handled the CCP virus pandemic effectively, with a successful vaccine rollout that left most European countries behind. But these allegations from a former insider at the very highest level have raised questions about what could have been done better.
UK trade has shifted. China is now the UK's biggest importer, replacing Germany. NTD's Patrick Hayden breaks it down.
China is now the biggest importer into the UK. It replaces Germany. The Office of National Statistics, or ONS, says from 2018 to the first quarter of this year, goods imported from China rose 66%. That's an increase of nearly £17 billion. In the same period, German imports dropped by about a quarter to £12.5 billion. The pandemic increased the demand for Chinese goods like PPE, and last year China imported more electrical devices and clothing into the UK. China was the first major economy to see growth during 2020. EU trade was also disrupted due to Brexit. The ONS says German imports to the UK started to fall back in April 2019. Germany's motor industry has also slumped since the pandemic led to fewer imports. Patrick Hayden, NTD News, London.
A European Court of Human Rights ruling has found the mass surveillance powers of GCHQ violate human rights rules. The case centered on privacy concerns in the face of powers given to security services.
The European Court of Human Rights has ruled mass surveillance methods used by the UK's intelligence service, GCHQ, were not in accordance with the law. The court ruled that there were deficiencies in the bulk interception regime that broke privacy rules. It also contained insufficient protection for confidential journalistic material.
The court, 1, holds unanimously that there has been a violation of Article 8 of the Convention in respect of the Section 8.4 regime. 2, holds unanimously that there has been a violation of Article 8 of the Convention in respect of the Chapter 2 regime.
These two regimes of Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights cover citizens' rights to have their private life and communications respected. The court acknowledges that, owing to the multitude of threats states face in modern society, operating a bulk interception regime is not illegal, nor is sharing sensitive intelligence with foreign governments. But the ruling says such a regime has to be subject to end-to-end safeguards.
3 holds by 12 votes to 5 that there has been no violation of Article 8 of the Convention in respect of the receipt of intelligence from foreign intelligence services. 5 holds by 12 votes to 5 that there has been no violation of Article 10 of the Convention in respect of the receipt of intelligence from foreign intelligence services.
The judgment is the culmination of a long-running legal challenge to GCHQ's methods of intercepting online communications. Privacy rights group Big Brother Watch first brought the agency to court in 2013 after Edward Snowden revealed information on mass surveillance techniques. The case centres on complaints about powers given to UK security services under the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act 2000, which has since been replaced. A government spokesman says the UK's data regime is setting a new international benchmark for how the law can protect both privacy and security while continuing to respond dynamically to an evolving threat picture.
The girlfriend of a Belarusian opposition journalist appeared in a confessional video on Tuesday. Both were detained on Sunday after Belarus forced the Ryanair plane they were on to land in Minsk.
The authorities in Belarus have released a second confessional video showing the girlfriend of opposition journalist Roman Protasevich. Sofia Sapiga was detained along with her partner on Sunday when their Ryanair flight was forced by Belarus to land in Minsk. In the video, posted on a pro-government channel on the Telegram messaging app, Sapiga rolls her eyes and appears to be speaking from a script. She admits she was the editor of a social media channel, which disclosed the personal information of Belarusian law enforcement personnel. This latest confessional video comes as airlines were forced on Tuesday to reroute flights to avoid Belarus's airspace. Belarusian planes are also facing a possible ban from Europe, as international outrage grows over the arrest of Protasevich. Western nations have accused Belarus of state piracy for forcing the passenger plane en route to Lithuania from Greece to land in Minsk. On Monday, Belarusian authorities released a video of Protasevich confessing to having organised anti-government demonstrations. Exiled Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya said the footage showed Protasevich had been tortured.
The head of UCAS says more needs to be done to tackle the outdated stigma and misplaced snobbery surrounding apprenticeships. Here's NTD's Jane Well with more.
Apprenticeships are offered by employers including the BBC, Ernst & Young, KPMG and Rolls-Royce. But the University Admission Service found a third of students were not told about apprenticeships. That's despite it being a legal requirement. UCAS found about half of teenagers interested in higher education are also interested in apprenticeships. Apprentices can work part-time and study at university at the same time without paying tuition fees. A survey found only 8% of students associated apprenticeships with leading to a good job. Claire Marchant, Chief Executive of UCAS, said more needs to be done to shake off the outdated stigma or misplaced snobbery associated with apprenticeships, given they're a great start to any career. Jane Werrell, NTD News, London.
The Treasury is considering new rules that could block companies from being listed on the London Stock Exchange. That's if the listing has any national security complications. The Treasury will review proposals in the coming months. The Financial Times first reported that a listing could be prevented if it gave a foreign state access to state or commercial secrets. Companies that harm UK interests could also be blocked. The news comes as Chancellor Rishi Sunak says he plans to relax the UK's strict stock market listing rules to attract more companies. And in other news, Carlos Gohn went from top car executive to an international fugitive on Interpol's most wanted list. As he prepares for a visit from French investigators, he spoke to the Associated Press on his legal troubles, his escape from Japan, and his new life in Lebanon.
A year and a half after his escape from Japan to Lebanon, former car magnate Carlos Gohn wants to clear his name. He contends he's the victim of a corporate coup.
Obviously, I've been the object of a character assassination campaign, frankly massive, led by obviously Nissan with the prosecutor and the complicity of the Japanese government.
Gohn was arrested in Japan in November 2018 on accusations of financial misconduct. It was a stunning downfall of an executive seen as visionary. Gohn denies accusations of underreporting his compensation and misusing company funds. In late 2019, he skipped his £10 million bail, fleeing house arrest in a Hollywood-style caper. According to officials, he hid in a box stashed in the hold of a Turkey-bound private jet. He says he fled after it became clear he would have zero chances of a fair trial. He's now an international fugitive on Interpol's most wanted list. Several associates are on or awaiting trial in Japan in cases related to his financial activities or escape.
I feel empathy and compassion for them because I was in the same situation, and I know what kind of beast they are facing now. This hostage justice system is brutal and needs to be denounced.
His arrest drew international scrutiny and criticism of Japan's legal system and its 99% conviction rate. Gohn was kept in solitary confinement for months without being allowed to speak with his wife. He says he's now enjoying the slower pace of life in self-imposed exile in his native Lebanon.
It's like you have, I don't know, a heart attack somewhere, or you've been hit by a bus, you change life. All of a sudden, you are in a completely different reality, and you have to adapt to this reality.
He now faces legal challenges in France after the Japanese accusations triggered scrutiny of his activities there. French investigators will question him next week in Beirut. Gohn says the meetings are voluntary, and he's eager to tell his side of the story.
Scientists have successfully tested a groundbreaking concept that could clear one of the major hurdles in developing fusion energy. Fusion energy is based on the same principle by which stars create heat and light. Using a machine called a tokamak, a fusion power station will heat a gas enabling types of hydrogen fuel to fuse together to release energy. With this energy, electricity can be generated. Scientists at UK Atomic Energy Authority developed a new system to allow components in commercial tokamaks to last much longer. Scientists believe this is a game changer for achieving fusion power plants that can deliver affordable, efficient electricity. And in other news, last week, over 8,000 Moroccans swam or climbed their way across to the Spanish port city of Ceuta. Among them were many children and teenagers. Here's one father's story whose son has yet to return.
When Abdeslam El Afaki got home last Monday, his sons had heard rumours that the border between Morocco and the Spanish city of Ceuta was open after more than a year closed due to the pandemic. Surprised by the news and fearing they would try to cross, the father instructed them not to leave their town, but they didn't listen.
I was thinking a lot. My two sons went there. I found the house empty. I felt defeated when I found that both have left the house. Defeated.
His two sons were among roughly 1,500 young people who made it to the Spanish territory within North Africa. They got there by swimming around a breakwater or climbing over a fence. When they arrived, they called their father. The 18-year-old eldest son eventually returned, but the 15-year-old younger son didn't. After many days worrying about his fate, El Afaki was finally able to reach him through intermediaries and found he was being held in a temporary centre for young migrants in Ceuta. Morocco relaxed its border surveillance in an apparent retaliation against Spain for hosting a pro-independence leader.
It's a shame. It's a shame they opened the borders. It's illogical. They make us lose our children. That's what I can say.
A week after more than 8,000 people arrived from Morocco, Spanish authorities are now faced with a complex and delicate issue: what to do with the hundreds of unaccompanied teenagers and children. In normal circumstances, illegal immigrants under 18 who enter Spain cannot be deported and become the responsibility of the local regional government until relatives are found or until they become adults. To El Afaki's dismay, his son doesn't wish to return.
We need our children here, in our country. They must be in this country. We educate them in our country, but unfortunately there is no work or education here.
The Spanish authorities are going through the cases of each minor currently in Ceuta and will assess whether each teenager and child should be repatriated to Morocco or remain in Spain.
Still to come, the US Secretary of Health is calling for further investigation into the origins of the CCP virus. That and more when we return.